Welcome back to the program, Property Behind the Scenes, brought to you by the Federation of Estate Agents. We are on F Living channel. The program shows daily, Monday to Friday at 7:30 a.m. and 8:30 in the evening, as well in the weekends, Saturday and Sunday at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. I am your host for today. My name is Simon Dabon and I am the General Secretary of the Federation. Today I have with me the Notary, Sam Abela. He is one of the owners of one of the largest law firms in Malta, based in Rabat. Welcome onto the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Notary, the overview that your firm enjoys due to its size is considerable. You could actually say you could determine what the market looks like. What does the market look like at the moment?
Well, Simon, at the moment the market is good. It's good because a lot of factors together contribute to have a very healthy market and a very safe market. Our Malta is, as you know, reputable. Malta has a property market which has shown over the years that the value of the property always increases. We have not had a situation where, for many years, where property has decreased in price. So people's investment, so people who come here to invest money, actually make money. People who come here to buy a home actually will make money when they come to sell. And that is something which we are proud of, and we are proud of because we work for it.
Thank you. In other words, we're saying Malta, since the 1950s, when records have been kept, has never had a period of negative equity. You are watching Property Behind the Scenes. It is a special English language edition for our foreign clients. It shows every day at 7:30 a.m. as well at 8:30 p.m., Monday to Friday, and Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Please stay with us. We shall now go to a short commercial break. Welcome back to the program, Property Behind the Scenes, brought to you by the Federation of Estate Agents. I am your host today, Simon Dabon, and I am the General Secretary of the Federation. This program on F Living channel shows every day between 7:30 a.m. in the morning and 8:30 p.m. in the evening, Mondays to Fridays, as well as in the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. You can follow missed episodes over here on F Living channel's own website, as well as on the YouTube channels of the Federation. Today I have with me Notary Sam Abela, who is one of the owners of one of the largest law firms in Malta, notarial firms, situated in Rabat. Notary, you are quite a large firm. How many employees and notaries do you have within the organization?
Well, Simon, first of all, I would like to congratulate the Federation of Estate Agents for this initiative. This is something which I am sure is going to be very, very useful for people who are seeing it, and for all the viewers. Basically, as a firm, as you know, Simon, we have been in the market for over 50 years, as you could say, as a family. But the office in itself has started way beyond that. In fact, my grandfather had taken over a firm which started in the 1700s, and he started in the 1950s roughly. And from that day onwards, it always remained in the family. Today we complement a staff of around 30 people, most of which are notaries. We have a great team. We take our work very seriously, as you know, and we strive to ensure that the client gets the best possible service.
The legal system, when you have a foreigner coming to Malta, our system is a bit different from what would find, for example, on the continent or in America or also in Eurasia. But it is not that complicated. The number of documents required are few. Could you talk us through them?
Yes, of course. Well, basically, as a firm, we try to, and obviously as the Federation of Agents, as a serious agent would do, and in Malta we have a lot of them, due to the standards which the Federation itself sets itself. As a firm, we try to make the life of a person who comes to invest in Malta and to buy a property in Malta as easy as possible. So we will try and take care of everything insofar as we could to make sure that everything is done correctly. The process normally starts when you go to a notary. Obviously, you normally go to a notary primarily to buy a property. So you will first go there to set up the signing of a preliminary agreement, of a promise of sale. It is a document which you sign in Malta, whereby you reserve a property for yourself as a buyer, and which you are buying from, obviously from a vendor or a number of vendors. At this stage, obviously the notary will draft your agreement. The notary will draft exactly the points or the way you are going to buy the property, or price, the description of the property. Obviously, he will list down the parties as stipulated by law and the property itself. Ideally, we could attach a plan to this agreement if it is available at the time of promise of sale. And we'll also indicate the time scale within which your eventual contract will take place. It is important that at promise of sale stage, obviously the client should have a source of identification available for the notary, so that the notary will be able to establish who the client actually is, and that will be backed by an official document. So we are speaking of a driver's license, of a passport, of a national identity card, of any other document which could prove that the person is the actual person who is there. When the person is buying in the name of a company or of another type of legal person, we would need a statute which establishes the company, and in it there has to be a declaration or evidence for the person who can actually represent the legal person. Apart from that, as per even recent amended legislation, the vendor would also require to have an energy performance certificate, which is especially important before the contract, but it is also recommendable to have for the promise of sale, where the document will itself show how energy efficient a property is. It is also important for the notary to be guided as to what the property consists of. So ideally, the vendor should provide a form of deed or a form of document showing how the property was given to the vendor. Why? Because obviously at promise of sale stage, we are basing ourselves mostly on good faith, because we would not have carried out certain searches or certain verification into title yet. Now, what happens as from promise of sale stage, one establishes the price, and then normally a deposit is paid. Sometimes it's at 10%, sometimes it's a bit more. It depends on the deal itself. Certain projects, in fact, also established for a number of payments depending on how the property is, when it is built, when it is finished, whether it's still on plan. And obviously one will adapt the promise of sale according to the situation one has in front of him.
So at this stage, we've mentioned the convenium.
Correct.
The energy performance certificate, which is provided by the person who is selling.
Correct.
And the parties have to get identifying documents that have a photo with them.
Yes.
But the convenium is a legally binding instrument, unlike the conveyancing that they do in the UK, for example.
When you sign a promise of sale in Malta, that document has to be registered within a stipulated period as determined by law with the government, with the Commissioner of Inland Revenue, in fact. Once it is registered, the promise of sale becomes binding. And that basically means, to spell it out easier, it means that the property is reserved for you. And once you actually sign the promise of sale, in most cases, you can sue for specific performance.
So you can force the owner to come forward. You can force
the owner to sell the property to you. And that is why it's important that our documentation is correct. Obviously, if there are things which are beyond our control, for example, but it is not normally the case, but for example, there's a defect in title, obviously it is up to us, and obviously we are always guided also by the Federation and by the agents themselves, to ensure that the client is protected, and to ensure that the client will not be made to buy a property which doesn't have the documentation in order.
So basically, for the benefit of our foreign clients, if the notary, while you are conducting the legal searches, finds something wrong that cannot be fixed.
In that particular case, Simon, the notary we'll see what type of problem it is. If the problem is such that it cannot be sorted, or so it cannot be solved, then the notary would normally first seek legal advice through to a solicitor, through a lawyer. In fact, as a notary, most notaries, such as myself, I am a qualified solicitor as well. However, obviously here you get to choose whether you work as a notary or as a lawyer. And, but we normally ask for separate and legal and independent advice at that particular stage, and then we'll proceed. We'll see whether we should proceed or whether we shouldn't. Obviously, wherever there is a problem or an issue, we will explain to the client, we will explain what advice has been given to us also accordingly, and then it is up to the client to decide whether to buy or not. However, as a firm, as you know, we do not take risks which we should not take, and as should be. In reality, that is why we offer a service, to make sure that clients are well protected and get the best possible service.
There is another document which, strictly speaking, doesn't form part of the convent, but it is a service offered by the Federation and its member agents. We would recommend it to you to engage a recommended architect to check out the property, both structurally and in terms of permits and conformity with building regulations. You are watching the program Property Behind the Scenes, brought to you by the Federation of Estate Agents. I am your host today, Simon De Bon. I am the Secretary of the Federation, and with me I have the Notary Sam Abela, who is one of the owners of the largest law firms in Malta, based in Rabat. We are now going to go for a short commercial break. Look forward to seeing you soon. Stay with us. Welcome back to the program. This is F Living Channel. You are watching Property Behind the Scenes, an English language informative program brought to you by the Federation of Estate Agents. I am Simon De Bon, the Secretary of the Federation, and with me today I have Notary Sam Abela, who is one of the owners of the largest law firms, notarial firms in Malta. Their offices are based in Rabat. Notary Abela, you've had contact with the Federation of Estate Agents, and
Correct.
You know how strictly we police, we train, we guide our members. Have you noticed a difference between estate agents? Does the Federation make a difference?
Well, Simon, over the years, one has realized that the work of the Federation, obviously, from a notarial point of view, from our work, has really become effective, and the reason for that is continual training. As we can see, it is regulation. I know that the Federation itself is always pushing for regulation of the agencies itself, legally as well, to ensure that obviously the standard is kept as high as possible. This is a profession. Being an estate agent is a profession, and it should be treated as such, and this is what you do. And for that, the Federation should be complemented, in my opinion. As you know, we work very, very close to agencies, and we know what the agents would want out of the property, out of the deal, and what they would want out of the transaction is to ensure that their clients get the best possible service. And that they can do because, and they can have that attitude because the Federation itself trains the agents as to what they should do and the approach they should take. And that is something you should be complimented for.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Now, Notary, we have examined the part of the documentation that leads up to the convenium, which we call in English the promise of sale. Then there is a further date, which is agreed between the parties to go to the contract. It could
Correct.
be 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, sometimes even a year or more.
Yes.
But there is further documentation that has to be gathered.
Correct. Basically, what happens once you sign the promise of sale, it is normally registered. The purchaser will forward the deposit as well as part of the tax due on contract,
which is around about 1%.
Normally, it's 1%. It is 1/5 of the tax due at the end, but it's normally calculated at 1%. of the value of the property, and then the process starts, or it continues. Let's put it like that. What we do is we first, as a firm, as every notary would do, we first carry out a search process where we order searches in the public registry and in the land registry of the property. The client, through an architect, which normally even the federation itself will help out, and the agent himself will help out to ensure the document is in order, will bring to us. We will also, and we will carry out these searches, and from those searches which we find, we will determine whether the title is good or it's not, or whether further documentation are needed. Obviously, every property is different. Every history of a property is different, and that is the nice thing about our system, because when you look at searches, you learn a lot. Why? Because a search will show you what type of contract used to be made at that particular time. So you will find a property which was acquired 15 years ago, or 20 years ago, or through inheritance, or it has always gone down from family to family, and that basically is what we do. Apart from that, once we establish that title is in order, we normally draft the contract. A draft of the contract, when requested, is sent to the client for the client to be able to see it and to vet it. If the client at times also gets independent advice from his or her solicitor on the contract itself. And once that is done, we set a date to sign the contract.
So basically, I'm going to put you on the spot over here. If you see a property that you wouldn't buy yourself, what advice would you give to the client?
Simon, as a firm, we always base our beliefs on the premise that whatever is not good for yourself is not good for your client. So I would not do something for my client which I would not do for myself, and I think that is the best way forward, because obviously we would know the system more than other people would know it. At the end of it, it is our job, and at the end of it, especially for our foreign clients, they would not know the system here. But when we feel that something is not correct, obviously nobody would like to take a risk which shouldn't be taken. So in that particular case, yes, we do flag it, and we do not take that particular risk. And we know that when we do this, we are always backed by the federation and of estate agents, and that is the way it is done.
One thing that fascinates me is every time I come to your office, there are these cupboards upon cupboards and so all filled with searches and documents and titles, and it gives you a bit of an edge, doesn't it? Because somehow, something would have passed through your office.
Well, basically, as an office, we have been one of the leading firms for a number of years. In fact, it was, as I said, through my grandfather, through my father and my uncle, so Tony and Joe and myself. We have other staff at the office. There's Notary Tiziana, Olivia, there's Pippa, there's Francesca, there's Daniela, there's Garrett. You know, you start. There's Graziella. You start mentioning, and you don't stop. And this is because, as an office, we work as one family. We work as one office together, and I think that gives us an edge. Why? Because we are a team at the end of it, and we strive to be as good as possible as a team. Obviously, a one-man army or a one-person army will never make it on his own, and that is what we believe in, and I believe is the way forward. You know, at the end of it, we strive to have the best possible results, and when you work together, knowing that you are basing yourself on the best possible stuff one could have, and the best possible team one could have, and using the best possible resources, then you give the best possible results.
The process, does it require more documents? Because some people might go to take a bank loan.
Correct.
And the bank is a bit more exigent on the kind of documentation it needs.
Certain promise of sales are different to others. Why? Because in most cases, a client would opt for a bank loan. So your promise of sale would be subject to a person obtaining a bank finance or a bank loan within a particular period, say 6 weeks, 8 weeks. What this means is that the bank will approve or disapprove your loan in principle, the bank will give a sanction letter or a credit agreement, which is the document proving that the loan is to be given, and that once it's in hand, that will be given to the notary, and the notary will start the process with the bank as well. In fact, there are other documents which are sometimes important. There's what is called an AIP permit. A permit required, especially by people who are not from the European Union, but again, there are exemptions to it as well, but which we will do as well. Obviously, there is the source of funds documentation, which is also necessary, where a person who is buying property has to indicate from where the funds he or she is using to buy the property have originated, and that is something which has to be provided both for the notary and obviously for government, if government is to verify accordingly such matter. It is important also that the buyer is also given planning authority permits, or as we used to call them before, MEPA
which are researched for him by an architect who's
which are
recommended
not
by
done
us.
by the notary, as you pointed out before, but they are done by the architect, and that would further give the client peace of mind that what he is buying has a good has permits, it is structurally sound, and it is also finished according to local workmanship trade or standards.
There's land registry.
Yes, the land registry is one of the departments we have in Malta registries, where we ensure that property is actually registered in the name of the person who is selling the property. That is done through a search which we carry out there, known as a Form E, and once that is in hand, once it is processed by the department, it's sent back to the notary, and the notary can actually verify that it is in order or it is not. If it is not, it has to be amended. If it is in order, we can proceed.
You are watching on F Living channel the program Property Behind the Scenes. This is a special English language program that is brought to you by the Federation of Estate Agents. I am your host today. My name is Simon De Bono, and I am the Secretary of the Federation. I have here today with me as our guest the notary Sam Abela, who is one of the owners of one of the largest law firms in Malta, the Notary law firm. They are situated in Rabat. We are now going to go to a short commercial break. Please stay with us. Looking forward. Welcome back to the program Property Behind the Scenes. This is a special English language edition of a program brought to you by the Federation of Estate Agents on F Living channel. I am your host today, Simon De Bono. I am the Secretary of the Union. Today with me I have Notary Sam Abela, who is one of the owners, one of the largest notarial firms on the island based in Rabat. Notary, one buys as a residence, but one also buys as an investment.
Correct. Well, basically, Simon, as we said before, when one invests property, when one invests money or to buy an asset in Malta, to buy a property in Malta, one does it either for residential purposes or as a holiday home or as an investment, always as an investment. Why? Because, as we said, in Malta, when you invest in property, you normally always make a profit when you come to sell. It is not normal for a person to lose money on property, and that is why we are maybe gifted to that with our system as it works out today, and as it is organized today. People who invest money in property always get a very good return. What we do recommend is that when a person is interested to buy property in Malta as an investment, as a home or as a holiday home, in that particular case, the process has to be done right. It is important that the person always does it if it's through an agency, always through an agent appointed by the Federation itself, or it was part of the Federation itself, and using professional people who can offer the best possible service. Thank you once again.
Pleasure. You are watching on F Living TV, the program in English language edition brought to you by the Federation of Estate Agents called Property Behind the Scenes. I have been your host. Simon De Bono is my name, and I am the Secretary of the Federation. Today I had the notary Sam Abela, who is one of the owners of the largest notarial firm on the island based in Rabat. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you.